So, welcome to our session. Quick overview on the agenda. We're going to introduce Swiss Re, the company we work for. We're going to set the context, explain you the problems we had faced with, and why we then developed and enabled CI/CD in ServiceNow. We're going to give a short demo about how it works, and explain you the tech stack behind our solution. So my name is Boris Mörs. I'm a technical architect working at Swiss Re since a while. I do software development. And also I'm the founder of ERM4SN, if you might be aware of.
Hi, I am Rajiv HR. I work at Swiss Re as a technical lead. Currently working on some DevOps initiatives here. So a quick look at our organization, Swiss Re. We are a leading reinsurance company based out of Zurich. We have reinsurance, corporate solutions, and life capitals, and some numbers to just give you an idea of the scale at which we work. I'll give it a couple of seconds. So over to you.
So what you will learn today is what it needs to implement CI/CD for ServiceNow today and not in Madrid. You attended the keynote this morning, obviously, right? Then what it actually benefits you, you get a higher throughput and higher quality of code, and the benefits you get out of automating stuff with CI/CD. So, our story actually is that we started with ServiceNow 9 years ago. We are early adapters, so to say, of ServiceNow. And lots of the features which you have today out of the box weren't there 9 years ago. So we actually developed a lot of the features ourselves, or we extended the out-of-the-box features which there were. At the moment, we have 35 foreign planning customized applications or homegrown applications. And we also do quite complex development. We enabled IBM Watson, in ServiceNow in a super secure way. And we developed a self-service platform where there was this out-of-the-box self-service platform available. Now, we're doing this with, at the moment, 35 developers working on 8 development environments. We have dedicated development environments, and at the end, when the changes are done, we deploy it to an integrated development environment. And we manage about 700 changes per year, change requests. The actual underlying changes are much more, 3,000, 4,000 changes. We have a release per month, and as said, we just touched a lot of things. And in the early days, there was no scoped application feature. So we had to, most of our customizations are in the global scope. So it's huge, and it takes us a lot of energy and effort to maintain this and run the platform.
Okay, stretching a bit more. As every organization, even we have some corporate directives to support the digital IT transformation, and a department mandate to adopt the DevOps principle and quality metrics. And last but not the least, our customers who want us to be fast and also right at the same time. So the challenges. The top 3 are on the slide that you can see. So software quality. Since we have so many developers working on so many development instances, they are doing a lot of change, and it's really difficult to maintain best practices and coding standards. And additionally, we have challenges with retention. The members keep changing all the time, and we have very less control on retaining them, and that's quite a big challenge that I would like to highlight. And the testing, especially when we are doing upgrades, it's pretty expensive because we have to spend a lot of time testing the entire platform end to end. To just give you an idea, we have everything like incident, change, CMDB, service catalog. Like we have around 80,000 service catalog items, and we have a lot of features and we have a lot of homegrown applications, again, which needs to be tested. So roughly it takes around, to manually test the entire platform end-to-end, it takes around 3 months, which is a lot of time for us. So, and then also, it's not like we can just add more people and kind of solve this, because adding more people is introducing more chaos. It's just more hands in the pot. So kind of we have reached the limit. We are actually struggling with the features that we can introduce on one hand, and also maintain these features that we are providing. So we are really finding it hard to find the balance so that they're happy about the new features that they get, and also are happy about the reliability and the quality that we can offer. And okay, the next one is the deployment. So sometimes, despite we do a very thorough impact analysis and a thorough design, sometimes a change can give you surprises after it's deployed in the production instance. We have seen this quite often sometimes, and we want to avoid it. The aim or the goal there is to completely eliminate that. We want to know if we change this, what exactly is it going to impact, and we don't want to have any surprises when we roll it out into production. And then, yeah, our customers expect us to do things faster. They feel 3 weeks is quite long. So I would like to have a show of hands to see in your organizations, do you also face similar challenges? Oh, great. Thank you.
You're in the right session.
Yeah. So
actually, don't panic. There's a solution. You can either have a towel and wait, or enable CI/CD. So are you aware of CI/CD? Hands?
Oh, great.
So you did maybe CI/CD with classic software development. You have an ID, right? And you connect everything. So I think I don't have to explain it too much, but the idea of CI/CD is the core component is automate and triggers. And what you do is you actually have a CI/CD pipeline end-to-end where you change something in your ID, in your Git branch, and this triggers something when you push it to your repository, which then does everything automatically for you. So you quality check, you test everything, you get an idea of the quality of your code, and then when everything is green, you can automatically deploy it to the next environment. And large companies like Google also do this in production a couple of thousand times every day, and we don't notice. So if you do it right, you can actually have a much higher throughput than if you don't do CI/CD. So I think I don't have to explain why you want to do CI/CD. It's just it can't go on like it did before. As I said, CI/CD allows you to track all the changes, who approved what, when. If there is a bug, you know what happened to that it went live. So you can actually then improve your CI/CD pipeline, so it won't happen again.
Yeah, a quick look at the process. Pretty much what everybody does. So we just capture our requirements in Jira, and rest of it is in ServiceNow, the development, testing, user acceptance, and deployment. Something I want to highlight here is the manual unit testing that we are doing right now, and the manual updating of documents, and manual code review of every change, and under the testing, the manual execution of test cases. So a bit more detailed version of the same thing. So if you note there are many sub-dev instances. There are multiple development instances where developers are making their changes. It's being code reviewed, unit tested, documented manually, and then moved to the next integrated development instance. And again, if there are more changes there, again, there is code review, unit testing, and documentation manually. So as a solution, what we did, we brought in the CI/CD. So CI/CD is now automating the entire code review, unit testing, and documentation. So these instances are interacting with CI/CD, and it's automatically done. So we can have a demo now, which will...
I think we have a question.
Yeah, how big are the instances? How many users is
Could you hear?
The size of the instances.
how many users is supporting?
How many builders, how many requesters, what's the general size of the organization?
Like there are around 10,000 ITIL users, and
So how do you cope with multiple dev boxes?
Sorry?
How do you cope with multiple dev boxes?
We have actually, we do dedicated development. We have certain applications which we develop on, let's say, a dedicated environment, and this is just reserved for this application. And then we move to change. We played with the team development thing, but it didn't work actually. We had way too many. It always indicated that there were changes, but there weren't any. And actually, what we do, we can talk about it later. We have we sync in the background. We wrote an automated sync feature. So if you touch something on one environment, we lock it on the other environment. So you don't actually by mistake change this and add it to another update set, and then you get overwrite it later on. But I can explain you that later if you like. So demo time. Oh, another question.
One more question. Everything seems to be manual testing. Do you do any automated testing?
We have Tosca in place, yes.
Do you use the ATF?
Yes, since it's there, we start to use it. You will see it just now. It's part of the CI/CD pipeline as well. But it's a good point. I mean, this is only the fact that there is ATF in place and enabled us to have an end-to-end CI/CD pipeline, which gives you a certain indicator about the quality of the code and that it's not failing. So without that, it would have been more difficult.
Yeah.
So demo. What you see here, actually, I recorded a video. On the right-hand side, you know it all, ServiceNow. Screen open. It's an update set, actually. On the left-hand side, in the background, you see a remote desktop window of our CI/CD server. It's actually Windows box. You see later on why. And the CI/CD service has started. Now, on the process actually is you have your update sets, you add your Jira task to the description of it. You have server running, and now you set the state of the update set to build. There is no complete anymore because we don't want that people complete the update set and then manually export it to the next environment. So you have to set it to build. And this now triggers the CI/CD pipeline. So it sends a message to our CI/CD server, I want to build this update set now. And you will see that on the left-hand side, the server will start to build the app, actually. So what it does, it goes and exports everything. Is it playing? Yeah. It exports everything which belongs to this application from our production environment as JavaScript files, not as XML dumps, on disk. This actually is, the data is checked into our master branch, and when that's done, we create an update set branch in the Git repository, and now we download everything which belongs to the update set in the same way, same JavaScript files, and put it on disk. When that's done, we just see the progress here. We treat this JavaScript on disk as a Node.js application. And Node.js comes with lots of tools how to build an application and test the application and quality control. And this is what we're doing now. So we install the dependencies which are required for this Node application to run, to be built. And once the dependencies are installed, we actually build the application. We run gulp. And that's actually what it does. It's, as we also exported the ATF information, it now opens the browser automatically, opens the test runner, and now via an API call, it triggers the tests to start. And it waits for the test in ServiceNow to complete. So everything is outside, the whole CI/CD pipeline is outside, but we have to run the tests in ServiceNow. We can't mimic this somehow outside of ServiceNow, it just must run there. And And when it's complete, the tests have completed in ServiceNow, we actually get the result and treat the results as we would have locally run a Mocha test run in Node.js. And we actually, if we just track all the changes, and if all the results, and if all the results are green, we raise a pull request. So what we now do is we send a pull request in our Git repository saying, I want to merge this with my master branch. I need someone to review this code and accept the pull request. And what you see here in the lower right corner is a Slack message. So we integrated Slack here. And Slack tells you, we also send out emails to the reviewers, there is a task. And now when you open this Slack, you see there is a pull request open for an update set. Someone should please review the code because the update set stays in build until someone actually takes care of this, or actually the process would have failed till this point. So if something wasn't green. So what you do is, you get the message, you open the link, and you see the pull request. In that case, we're using Bitbucket. You can also use another Git repo like GitHub or so. So you see the information about the pull request, who has actually set this update set to build, and the reviewer, which is not the developer, it's the 4-eyes principles, actually takes a look at the diff, the delta between what was there in production and the user has changed. So what you see here actually is the files we're generating, what I just earlier said. So we don't export XML files because Node.js, you can't run a JavaScript application with XML files. So every field of a record which contains JavaScript information is treated as an individual file. So when you scroll further down, you see here this client script has one field which contains the script, and that 2 lines have changed. So the timestamp has changed. We add the timestamp to the header all the time and the link to the record. And then there is one line has changed. So you review, and then if you not agree with what the developer did, you get back to the developer. You can use the chat feature in Bitbucket and say, no, why did they do this? Please, blah, blah. And then you can reject the pull request. What you also have to do, or can do, is open the build results. So this is actually now the result of our CI/CD build server. You see the update set, it belongs to an application. We have a construct for this, which is not the out-of-the-box scoped application. And you see the latest build results. And if you scroll down, you also see the build steps. So if all the build steps we do, we log. And so you get an idea if something went wrong and what step it went wrong. And now, the very cool thing about this here is, so now you know what code has changed. What you can do now is you can open the test results. So these test results, you don't have to open ServiceNow for the test results. You see the test result of the test run here in a way as Mocha would display it for you if it would be just proper Node.js tests. So you see there is a test suite with some tests and it all around green, so perfect. So let's have a look at the quality of the code. So what we do is we lint the code as well. So if you can actually define your lint patterns, what kind of coding standards you have, you only want camel case and all that stuff. And if it's not following what you designed or configured, you will have an error here and the build will fail. So this is a report, it only has some warnings in this example. You get an idea if developers have followed your design development standards. And what you also get is we're using JS doc tags in the source code in our JavaScript, and from this JS doc annotation we can generate a documentation in HTML. And this is always up to date because it's generated from your code. So if you add a new function to your script include, bang, it's there. There is no, I have to update a Word file saying now there is a new feature and so on. And the cool thing is also when you refer to another script include, or you extend another script include, you see it here. You can actually click here and jump to the other resource which is used. So you don't have to go to ServiceNow, open that script include, look at it, and then you see, oh, it includes another script include, you search for that, you open that. So the documentation of the application is done here in HTML. Now when you, what you also have, forgot to mention, the Jira ticket numbers, which we saw in the description, caused Bitbucket to actually link the Jira tasks in the UI here, so you can see what changes have been actually implemented here. And it's also vice versa. So when you go to Jira to those tasks, you will see that there is a pull request and a change in that update set made. So you have a clear idea of what has changed, when, why. So now when you're happy with this, you accept the pull request, and you would, technically what you do is you merge your update set branch with master. And this then, this is very cool, triggers the CI/CD server, and in this case it goes and deploys it to the next environment automatically. So you see here on the bottom, so the green part actually, there are two messages. The green part says it has been reviewed and accepted, all good. And now we start the deployment from our development environment to our integrated development environment. And on the left-hand side, you see, on the server, you see the progress. So we actually ask the target environment to pull the update set from the source environment, and once it's there, we commit the update set. And as this takes a little bit of time in this example here, we do fast forward. So you see, it's done. So there's another message. Update set, tested, quality controlled, code documented, code reviewed, all good, deployed. No manual interaction beside code review. If you like, you can bypass this. But this is the way of checking your code, CI/CD, your changes in ServiceNow, and deploy it to the next environment. So, a slide about this. Maybe it was too much information. What happens, developer changing something in a ServiceNow environment, when he sets the update set to build, this is triggering the CI/CD server. The gray box is outside of ServiceNow. This is our CI/CD server. Now, as you saw, it will go and extract the code, create the local Git repository, and then run the ATF test in ServiceNow, run quality control, document the code, and then when everything is green, it will push this to the Git repository, which will then trigger the pull request, which then would actually send a message, email, Slack. Someone reviews the code. When you're happy with it, we deploy it. That's it. That's the whole pipeline in one screen.
You might want to give them some time. Yeah. Yes.
You're going to touch on upgrades. What happens when ServiceNow moves their platform forward?
Yeah, but the thing is, if it touches your changes, you will see it later on when you pulled everything from master again. So if ServiceNow upgrades have touched your files, you will see this again when you pull it from master. So then you will.
Master is your branch.
Production, yeah.
There's a master branch, which is production, exactly.
So when you go, say, to Kingston, you just treat it like a new master branch?
No, it's always the same master. There's only one master branch. Yeah, there's only one master. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Yes.
So you had talked earlier about some of the challenges that you have with turnover and manual testing. So I'm not completely clear. Are you now using this, or is this where you're headed? Have you solved those issues?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's yes and no at the same time. Currently, we are investing a lot of our efforts in building the test cases, because if you want to get the real value out of this, that's how effective your test cases are. And the other part, which is the code review, static code analysis, those are just rules. And then the documentation is as the developer writes. So it's the same thing that's getting generated. So the real value out of this would be on the ATF side. So we are currently focusing on building that the complete suite of these test cases for an end-to-end platform testing. So this is kind of in place for the development instances.
Can I ask one more question? Have you done anything with your code review process to try to evaluate particular code reviewers and to maybe fast-track code review based on past performance?
You mean we are evaluating the code reviewer?
Their success of that code.
That's a good point.
Review and use that.
You could measure that based on the result, what you had in of the review process, and then find those people which are actually good performers.
Yeah, and also capture the defects that escape after that stage. Yeah,
I mean,
but we are not really doing that. We could probably do
But the
that.
thing is, I mean, this is the whole CI/CD pipeline is a standard process. You also have this in other software development projects outside of ServiceNow. So if there is a feature in place for this, you just can get it. So if you have, let's say, you use GitHub for this, and GitHub gives you this measurement that you can get an idea of who's good reviewer, use this. It's all there. It's a common problem. So there might be a solution for it in place, right?
Yeah, there's another question from a gentleman there.
With regard to the environments, you've got multiple sub-devs and then that master dev. How do you get a refresh from prod, and how often do you have data?
The thing is, we still do cloning.
Yeah.
But we don't like, I personally, I hate cloning. the cost they produce every time to get your instance ready again and be the same as it was before, and maybe you override something which wasn't deployed yet and blah, it's difficult. So what I like to see in the future is that we have all the update sets actually in a kind of way in Git. So you can go and just make sure that you deploy all the update set to all environments. And then they are the same. Then you only have to maybe once a year or so clone from production if you would like to have production data in a dev environment. But there is no need for, there is one development here, and we wait for it to be in production, then we put it on the other development environments again. I'm not so fan of this, actually, cloning. Yeah?
You have another one?
I notice your developers on the left there are still inside of the ServiceNow platform, and your entire CI/CD process runs outside.
Yeah.
And I wonder, do your devs actually use the ServiceNow interface to develop, or are they also sort of like pulling stuff out and using JavaScript?
So most of the developers use the ServiceNow UI to work with, for sure, yeah. I personally use Visual Studio Code, and I have a side project, actually. I wrote a plugin for Visual Studio Code which syncs the code with ServiceNow. So when you want to change something, you open the file in Visual Studio Code. It's also dumped on disk. It's using the same module. And when you save it, it uploads it to ServiceNow. If it has been touched since, it will download the one which is in ServiceNow, and you have two versions and just compare it, right, when you save it, and then you can check what has been changed and copy the changes and save it again. So this is the vision I have how to work with ServiceNow. The tricky part is the changes we do via REST API, and they have to be tracked on an update set. So it's not that easy. But at the moment, the developers are working in ServiceNow UI, yes.
Yeah, there's another one there.
Yeah.
So when you first start the CI/CD thing, so what's in the master branch?
The production code.
Yeah, the production code. So the first time you run this on an application update set, we take everything from the master branch. So because the Git repo is empty, so we take all the files which belong to this application from production, put it into the master branch, and then in a later run, we just refresh the master from the data which we have in production. So if you deploy something later on, and then you don't have actually, let's say, cloned the environment, you will see that in the diff, that production is now different from what you have changed.
So everything, every object in production.
Not everything, everything which belongs to this application.
Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise it would too much. It would be too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Question?
There was another.
Question,
Okay.
I think you answered because she had asked a question, are we live with this? Because I think that was your question, I'm already using it, and I don't think we answered that.
Yeah, that's what I said, that we are using it in the dev instances and and we are investing on the.
So the thing is, we have to get the ATF thing on track first, and we have to onboard the developers to use ATF, because otherwise the exercise is somehow useless. And this is now we have to invest in people. The technical part is easy, as you see, it's here.
Yeah.
And we have to invest in people to make them aware of how do I write a unit test, how do I use ATF to actually check my code. And we might also come up in the future with rules saying that you can only, a test will only pass when you have at least one. If there's no test, it will fail. Right? So this is, yeah.
There's with ATF, there's certain things that become really challenging to test.
Yeah.
Like, on the ITSM side, it's really easy because everything's form-based and business rules, stuff like that. But when it comes to, say, on the ITOM side, when it comes to things like discovery and all the instance codes and things of that nature, or even like the service portal, like how do you plan on tackling those things where ATF isn't really caught up in those areas?
Yeah, I mean, we talked to the ATF guys yesterday, and they promised is that there will be new features in the future. The thing is, it has some limitations right now, right? But we actually checked a lot of other tools or plugins for ServiceNow to run test cases, but then we actually decided that we just have to take one and start with. And even it doesn't cover everything from the beginning, at least we have the option to write some test cases. Maybe we do only server side, we just check some business rules if they trigger or script includes if they run. But we can't cover everything. You can't do all the click streams thing, what we do in Tosca. But at least we have some, right? And then over time we will grow. When ATF actually gets more feature, we can use that. Yeah.
Can we?
So, there's one thing to mention actually. The CI/CD server. This is the tech stack. We're not done yet. I mean, it's nice to have a conversation. This is the tech stack of the CI/CD server. It's built with JavaScript, Node.js. It's using Express.js as a web server. It needs Gulp as a build tool. We do lint, we do JSDoc, we do use Gulp Git to actually generate the Git repo, the local one. Then we use Mocha test tool with an ATF wrapper, which actually, as I said, calls ATF tests. We have a REST API in ServiceNow for this. And we're using Bitbucket. And now the very cool thing about this is we make it open source. It's freely available. Thank you very much. It's freely available in the internet, in GitHub. There are two projects. The top one is the example. That will be your implementation of the CI/CD server. And the second one is the CI/CD server itself. The idea is the customizations are not done on the master project. They are done on your extension of that project. If you go to that website, I have it open here. It explains you how you get your server started. It has a video which explains you just without the ATF part because it requires a change on ServiceNow, but you can easily add that as well. It explains you how you enable it, how you authenticate. So actually what we're using is you're using OAuth, but we send an OAuth token with the build request. So we don't have the CI/CD server has no idea what your credentials are. So we don't have to store the credentials on the CI/CD server. We just generate the token on the server side and make it valid for only 30 minutes. And then the CI/CD server is using this. And if you would rerun it after 30 minutes, it would fail because the credentials have expired. So when you run it again, it will generate a new key and all fine. So if you want to start, have a look at this, clone that Git repo, play with it. It's very easy, it's simple to use. I mean, this is a live tutorial actually. So you just, if you follow that in 5 minutes, you're done. And then the project itself, if you'd like to contribute, please fork that project. We have still many ideas what we could do better or add features add to this. You're happy? Yeah, if you like, just help us making this better. So you help others as well. So
yeah, just to wrap it up, the key thing is to automate the repetitive tasks and come and have fun in Las Vegas. No, I mean, I meant, yeah, spend most of your time innovating and bringing in new features, and be fast, be safe, because and win trust with high quality. The customers are going to come to you only if you have high quality. Yeah. So I'll leave the presentation with the links so that if somebody couldn't take a picture. Yep.
So at the beginning of the presentation, you mentioned one of the challenges, the impact of change is unpredictable, maybe for it to production. Have you solved that problem by using CI/CD?
Yes. The thing is now there is also grouping of this applications. So as we said that we are bringing in the code from the master only related to that application. So now the change is more contained, and the code review helps us, the automation helps us to reduce the work the code reviewer is doing. So he's more now really checking if there is any other impact of this change to any other component in the entire platform. To an extent, yes. I mean, this is an ongoing process. So the feedback is the key thing there. So as you go through the years, you're going to improve. So we are talking about the first step, yeah. Yeah. Just 1 second. There's one gentleman at the end. Yeah.
So what's the role of Tosca in your CI/CD pipeline?
What's the role of Tosca? Okay, Tosca currently, we spoke about the testing stage. We do have the manual. Manual is the main chunk of it, and we do have some Tosca automated scripts that are there, which we do for the functional testing. And the CI/CD server could be hooked up even with Tosca.
So the thing is, we have, at the moment, it's two independent deployment processes, but what we could do, actually, we could just trigger another one. So when you run this, we could, at the end, just say, now we run Tosca, and then we wait for that result to come. And the cool thing is, it's plug and play. So you can, if you use Gulp, you can write a plugin for that, which is calling another API. It's the same as it does with ATF, and now we said, now run Tosca, and then wait for that result to come as well. So you have various options to do this. But we also thought about this because there are certain test cases which we might not be able to move to ATF at all. So we might need some other, also performance stress tests and so which you might want to trigger as well, right?
I think there was a question here.
Yeah, you mentioned your service catalog at the beginning of the talk, and I'm wondering if you tag the CI, configuration engine in this case, not continuous integration, the CI, within that process to be able to track the lineage of change associated with a configuration item, and then get a feedback loop after deployment for associated incidents or defects that surface as a result of the change.
I think you're speaking about the life cycle of a CI. Yeah, this is more about the development, the work we do on ServiceNow platform. So the changes what we're talking about are like script includes, client scripts, UI scripts. No? I didn't.
The question is more about if you have a service catalog, because we have a lot of service catalog items. You're going through a service catalog and is that it?
To show the lineage of change for a service catalog.
Exactly. So even though one of the items that we showed was about local application, so we would catalog the local application, so any updates or any posts to that.
Yeah, I mean, if you release a catalog item in the same way, you will see everything which belongs to the catalog item also here, and you can And you can configure the entities which you like to see on disk. At the moment, it's out of the box. What you see here is it only foresees to download or actually save files which contain JavaScript.
And it all starts with the update set. So it all starts with the update set, right? You have to move the update set to the build. So if you change the catalog item, it will all be captured in that update set. So that's the trigger point. That's why we chose update set.
So if it's in the update set, you could technically do a CI/CD with it. Yeah.
Did that answer now? Sorry, I think I didn't get it for the first time. Sorry. Yeah, please.
Is there a reason you use this instead of Jenkins?
Instead of Jenkins? Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. So in the beginning, the idea was to use a build tool, which exists, and then just trigger this from the outside. The thing is, we have a various amount of applications, and if every application would have its own build, it has its own Git repo, which would require its own build process, which is linked to listen to events on that Git repository, and we were not able to generate the build part dynamically. So that's why we came up with, well, at the end, our build tool will only go and run gulp, and we can run gulp as well. So I have some ideas about enabling using other build tools. Striker is an open source build tool which is built on Node.js as well, which has a plugin API which you could easily extend features for that. So that might be the future of this, that we use such a platform, a build tool, and it's an existing one, and then just trigger it up from the outside. But at the moment, it's a standalone build server itself. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't do much without extracting the code. That's the key piece. We had to extract the code out of it, and every build tool, like for example Jenkins or Bamboo, anything needs the code repository. Yeah. So the extraction of code.
Tricky part is only the extraction of it, and at the end know if a build result actually is green or red. And yeah, you're right. In the future, we might use a build tool for this. Yeah. But it would be cool to use an open source build tool like Striker. So then you don't have to have a license.
There was another question. Yeah.
How do you account for things like scheduled jobs that are not captured in update sets?
This is on.
Yeah, I think that's what I said. If it's not in the update set, then it's not here. Sure. If you manage to add your uncaptured records to add manually in the update set, what you also can do, then it will be here as well. So, but it doesn't help you doing this in ServiceNow. That's another topic. And it's a shame sometimes. I mean, I like the scheduler, because you can, if you add that to your update set, you can have some pods run automatically when you deploy the application itself, and then even stop or remove the schedule. But it's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. There was another one. Yeah, the gentleman in the back. Yeah.
Yeah, what we changed is the values of the drop-down, right? So we did not remove the complete, we just set it active false or inactive true, I think it is.
Do you have to make any other modifications to the mechanism besides the drop-down?
We have the REST API, which we call for the ATF tests. Yeah. And we have an API which we call to deploy. But the ATF part is in the example. And the deployment will be added soon as well. Yeah. So actually, if you follow the example here, which is with the personal development instance recorded, I haven't added any features to ServiceNow. All I'm doing there is I'm just closing an update set, and I'm triggering. I mean, instead of having a business rule triggering this automatically, I do it manually, and that's. Because there is no ATF in place, there's no ATF API in place, all you get is the quality control and the documentation. And I mean, it depends on you. If you implement the APIs in ServiceNow for ATF, then you also get the ATF feature.
Yeah, there was a lady in the front.
Are you doing any sort of lifecycle management of this build process in ServiceNow so that you have visibility into how often you're releasing and what the results are, and you're able to report on that?
That's actually a very good question because it's
if you were
it's
using
very difficult because it doesn't support you with that out of the box, right? You have
we should have the PPM, the project portfolio management, the one with the agile. We should have that, and we could definitely integrate that. Yeah, but we need that. And
so at the moment it's a lot of manual work to know what change is captured in what update set, and then you merge it on a later state and so on. Yeah.
And we majorly use Jira for tracking the tasks within the development process. So I think there was another one. Yeah, it's like, for example, if it is catalog development, it's a different, and if it is the contact one which you saw there, the homegrown, then it's a different instance, because there are too many people. So it's like 35, right? So you cannot have all of them working on the same instance. So it's the internal team structure. Yes. You can have it as you want, and you could have multiple test environments also. Yeah.
Have you ever come across a situation where two developers are working in two sub-dev instances that touch the same scripting tool at the same time?
Yeah, sure. That's what I mentioned earlier. We have a solution for this. We sync the status of a file between the environments. So we make, if you touch one file A in an environment 1, it's locked for the other environments.
Yeah.
So if you go to that file on another environment, it's read-only. So that we've struggled a lot with this problem that the last commit wins overrides the change of another update set. But if you like, we can talk about this later.
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
The Windows server. Yeah, that's the thing is, we have to start a browser. And there would be an option, I mean, with Node.js, there is actually quite cool module. You can get a headless Chrome browser. So we could run the same thing, even also on a Linux box, without any, you wouldn't see anything. It would just run hidden. The thing is, in our company, we're using a single sign-on mechanism. And that the whole CI/CD server runs under the ATF test user at the end. So all the tests are triggered in the context of the ATF test user, and that's why we use the IE browser, because then we get the sign-on thing automatically, because otherwise you would have to go to the login do page and send some credentials and then wait for the other page to load. So. I didn't get it. It's very noisy up here. There's a fan. Could you repeat, please?
You mean via the mid server, the trigger for CI/CD? That would be via the mid server or the OAuth authentication?
It's just a REST call. The mid server exposes a REST API. The CI/CD server exposes a REST API, which ServiceNow triggers via a simple business rule when you change the status of an update set, and this actually then triggers the whole CI/CD pipeline. So it's quite easy to invoke the process.
I'm not sure if we have any more time left. Easy? Do we have time? Are we done? We have only 30 minutes set, so it's now already in the positive. So, what did he say? Sorry.
2 minutes, yeah, because the clock got stuck on 10 minutes. Okay. I mean, we're happy to answer questions later on. Yeah. Thanks for joining the session.
And they said you have to announce this. I don't know what is that. Then I think the next session is sponsor financial industry reception. I think they asked us to announce this. It's in San Polo 3402 Venetian L3.
And it's about financial services, which I guess you all want to know more about it. Thank you.